I know it's been a few days since I've been on the channel, guys, and it's because I've been down bad. I've been sicker than a dog, man. So I really just wanted to come on today. Not 100% just yet, so I might not have the energy that you're used to seeing, but just want to go to a few quick plays. I know it's the last day of the month, so I just kind of wanted to wrap everything up for this month, and then we can be able to transition into February good. And then hopefully by tomorrow, I'll be back 100% and we'll be ready to rock and roll. I know it's been a few days since we've been on the channel, but we did put out a few shorts on Saturday and Sunday. We went 2-3 in those games after our 7-0 streak here on the channel. So we cashed on the Mahomes pass attempts on Sunday. We cashed on the Kansas spread on Saturday. That late 3 by McCullough really helped us there. We did lose on Mahomes' longest rush. He actually went over, but we had a holding call that pulled it back. And then we also lost on our SEC parlay as A&M sold on Saturday, and then Auburn sold as well on the road to Mississippi State on Saturday as well. So 2-3 over the weekend. We did cash on hella bets on Monday and Tuesday inside the Discord group. Sorry again that I did not put out a video, but you can see our year-to-date record right here. So for the month of January, we're standing over 500, 4 games over 500 right now. You love to see that, so at least I know we'll be over 500 for the month of January, like I promised you guys after our slow start. But hopefully we can end off the month on a sweep in the right way, as we've been absolutely crushing college basketball over the last few days, and my goal is to keep that momentum going. And if there's ever a time, guys, that you don't see me on the YouTube channel, you're looking for my picks and plays, make sure you tap into my Twitter, make sure you tap into the Discord group, because I promise you guys I will be active on one of the two. Really, in the Discord group, it's just like I said, it was really hard for me to record a video with the way I was feeling and my sickness and the coughing and all that stuff, but we're here now. Let's dive into these best bets. For my first best bet of the day, we're going to go to this Xavier and St. John's matchup as the Musketeers take on the Red Storm of St. John's in a home Big East matchup. And in case you haven't noticed, like UNC's loss yesterday to Georgia Tech, winning on the road in college basketball is tough, especially in conference time, especially when you have a strong home court advantage. So because of that, we have a pick 'em today, basically, a short money line, and I'm going to take Xavier at home today on the money line, minus 120 odds on FanDuel. Make sure you shop around so this way you can get the best value. Now, I really like this Xavier team at home today for a few reasons. One, they've been really strong at home all season, really defending the home court, and they have a very strong offense. Ranked 54 in offensive efficiency and ranked 47th on defensive efficiency, this team can play both sides of the ball at a very good rate. Okay, we saw them pick up home wins against Georgetown and Butler in conference, and also beating Seton Hall, which is like truthfully one of the most surprising teams in conference play so far in the Big East, and we've seen them defend the home court against all of those teams. They have non-conference wins against Cincinnati at home. They beat St. Mary's on a neutral floor. They beat Bryant at home. So we've seen them been able to compete, and they only lost to Houston. They covered in that game at home, even though they lost that game outright. Most of their struggles in conference play have come on the road. They lost to St. John's on the road. They lost to Villanova on the road. They only lost by 5 points to UConn at home. They covered that line as well. Then they lost to Creighton and then UConn again, getting blown out by 43 points in their last matchup against UConn. That game was on the road. So for me, I think it's just a very good bounce back spot for an Xavier team that is coming off of a few tough away losses. Now they're back at home, and the St. John's team that started off conference play 4-1 hasn't been so good of late. We saw them lose 2 road games back-to-back against Creighton and St. Hall. Then they lost at home against Marquette by 1 point, and then they just beat Villanova at home by 20 points, but Villanova is truthfully not the team that we're used to seeing now. So because of that, I think that this matchup just favors Xavier, the fact that they're at home and the fact that St. John's has struggled away from New York. Like I said, they've lost to UConn on the road. They lost to Creighton on the road. They lost to Seton Hall on the road. They've lost to Dayton on the road. Okay, these are all teams that when I look at Xavier, who's ranked 41st in KenPom, I think that this is a team that Xavier should be able to beat. This is a team that Xavier should be able to hold it down against. And when you look at the numbers, St. John's is not that good on the defensive boards, and I think that's where Xavier can exploit this team, because Xavier does crash the offensive boards hard, and they take advantage of good offensive possessions. They can score the ball, so can St. John's, but I think Xavier has the better defense here. So for me, I'm just going with the home favorite here, or just basically a pick 'em. Home teams have been covering in conference play, they've been winning games, so I'm going to continue to ride that trend. So give me Xavier at home as our first best bet of the day. Now for our second best bet of the day, we're headed to Morgantown as the West Virginia Mountaineers take on the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now siding with the Mountaineers team that is 7-13 on the year and 8-11-1 against the spread might seem like a little crazy thing to do. But however, keep in mind that West Virginia as a team at home, they beat Kansas and Texas. So those are 2 of their 7 wins is against 2 really good programs that a lot of us have backed in other games before. Now they take on a Cincinnati team that's not doing real good away from home. They defend the home court really well, but they're away from home, they just don't do as well. We've seen the Cincinnati team that's 3-4 in conference lose on the road to Kansas, lose on the road to Baylor. They did pick up a road win against BYU that was actually pretty shocking, but that was the first game of conference play for both teams. So, I kind of get it. And then also Xavier, they lost. We just spoke about them. They lost to Xavier, we just spoke about them. This Cincinnati team lost to them on the road by 5 points. So when I'm looking at this West Virginia team, do I think they win this game? No. But one angle that I've been able to exploit is the first half. West Virginia has been a very good first half team. So because of that, we're going to go with the West Virginia first half spread plus 2.5 minus 110 odds. Now, if your book has this at +2, I encourage you to buy the hook. So this way you can get that just value on just that one bucket there. Obviously, if they hit a 3, that's a little tough. But when you look at the numbers, like I mentioned, West Virginia, 7-13 on the year, 8-11-1 against the spread. But when you look at them in the first half, they're 12-5 against the spread in the first half. So I'm not saying that they're going to win this game, but I'm just saying they're going to come out to a hot start. We exploited this angle on Saturday against Oklahoma State, another team that they played at home. And guess what? They covered the 2.5 point number. They were winning actually at halftime during that game. They ended up losing the game outright, but they were winning the game during halftime. So I think this is just another opportunity for this West Virginia team to come out with a lot of energy, jump on a Cincinnati team that struggled away from home, be able to put up some points. And I don't think they're going to win this game in all honesty, but I do think that they have the ability to cover this 2.5 point spread in the first half. So we're going to go with that as they are 12-5 on the year against the spread in the first half. Let's continue to exploit this angle. We've seen at times that the Cincinnati offense has gone stagnant, and this West Virginia team, they are pretty deep and loaded on the bench, and they play a lot of guys. They just haven't been able to put all the pieces together, but I think this is a game where they can be able to get out to a hot start and be able to put up some points in the first half. So let's go with the first half spread as our second best bet. Now for our third and final best bet of the day, I know we've been backing the home team so far in the channel, but I'm going to have to switch it up this time, and I'm going to have to go with a road favorite. And I know that road favorites have been hit or miss this year. I mean, a lot of people have been blindly tailing home teams, and that's really not a bad strategy. But we saw this strategy that people are blindly tailing the home teams yesterday when everybody was on Villanova. We saw this the day before that when everybody was on Virginia Tech against Duke. But I've been on the opposite sides of both of those games. Why? Because when you watch these teams, when you look at the full body of work, you understand why they are away favorites and why Marquette won yesterday and why Duke won yesterday. For me, today's another opportunity for a away favorite to be able to pick up a much needed win. So we're going to go with the Baylor Bears minus 2.5 minus 115 odds. Now the 2.5 here is a very key number. If this was like the UNC game yesterday, that was an away favorite, and it was like 8-9 points, I'm not laying that. If this was 4.5, 5.5 over my key number 4.5, I'm not laying it. But the fact that we have 2.5 here, and that means if it's a close game down the stretch, it comes down to a free throw shooting game, I like Baylor in this spot against a UCF team that is very solid on defense. Don't get me wrong. UCF has been one of the best teams against the spread at home. They've been covering games at home, and they've won the best defenses in all the country, actually ranked 8th in defensive efficiency on KenPom, 35th in effective field goal percentage, 24th in turnover percentage, 3rd in block percentage. This UCF team can play some absolutely great defense, but this is the thing. Baylor is in a spot where they've got to win this game. They've dropped 3 games in a row. They lost on the road to Kansas State in overtime. They lost on the road to Texas by a buzzer beater. They lost to TCU at home in a triple overtime game. This was a team that started off conference 3-0, and now they're 3-3 after 3 heartbreaking losses. That is why I'm backing Baylor today, because Baylor has to win this game. I know you guys said the same thing about Villanova. I know you said the same thing about Virginia Tech, but the thing is, those are not really good teams. Like, they're decent, but they're not good teams. Baylor has Final Four potential. They just have to figure out all the kinks. And offensively, this team is a juggernaut. 7th in offensive efficiency, 12th in effective field goal percentage, 19th in offensive rebound percentage, 3rd in three-point percentage. So we're literally getting offense versus defense. So you're probably going to say defense wins championships and defense is at home. So why are we not backing UCF? I get the point. But keep in mind that Baylor has a 69th ranked defense as well. Meanwhile, UCF on the offensive end is only ranked 210. So this is a game to me that if UCF cannot score enough points like Baylor can, Baylor has a much better defense than UCF has offense. So even though UCF has the better defense, Baylor has an equal offense that matches UCF's defense, but Baylor's defense is far better than UCF's offense. So that is why I'm taking Baylor in this matchup today. If they didn't lose those last 3 games, then this line is probably 4.5, 5.5. And I get it. UCF, we saw them beat Kansas at home, but we also saw them lose to BYU at home by 5 points, but they actually did cover in that game. They beat Texas on the road. They beat West Virginia at home, but we also saw them cover against Houston on the road, even though that was a loss. And they also lost to Cincinnati on the road, which was also a loss. But to keep in mind, UCF's been defending the home court in conference play, but if you look at the non-conference schedule, they lost to Ole Miss at home, and they lost to Stetson at home. So they have been vulnerable at home, even though they picked up some few key wins lately at home against conference opponents. This is a game to me where I think Baylor, if you look at all their losses this year, those 3 heartbreaking losses I just mentioned, they also lost to Duke on a neutral floor, and they also lost to Michigan State on a neutral floor. To me, this is a game that Baylor has to win. This is a game that Baylor loses. They're now following far down in the Big 12 standings. They can't afford to do this. This is a team that has Final Four potential, and this is where they turn their season around after this 3-game losing streak. I'm taking Baylor on the road, -2.5. I'm going with the team that's in a spot where they just have to win this one. So give me Baylor, -2.5 is our third and final best bet of the day. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. 3 best bets, 3 winners on the hardware that's coming your way. We're going with Xavier on the money line. We're going with West Virginia in the first half on the spread. And then we're going to also go with Baylor on the spread. Now, again, all these games, I like the live trigger as well. So make sure you guys are watching these games live. You probably might be able to get Baylor at plus money as a pick 'em, or even plus the points if UCF goes on a run. Same thing with Xavier. And then West Virginia, that might be one where you might want to lock it in, put in like a unit on it early, and then have like a unit ready to deploy live. If they get down 4 or 5 points in the first half, you can snag that at +6.5, +7.5. These are all ways that we've been making money in college basketball, because these big spreads that we're seeing, like Purdue -13, Kansas yesterday -16, we're seeing huge spreads, and you might be a little wary of laying those huge numbers, and I get it. So that means you have to be watching these live spreads, so this way you can snipe these things and take advantage of the opportunity. Yesterday, I made some of my money back on UNC. Why? Because I grabbed them at +5.5, even though I did lose on them in the money line live. It happens, but there are times that you can be able to snag teams at a better value, but you just have to be paying attention. All right, my friends, it's a quick strategy that will help you out. Hopefully we can be celebrating a sweep end off January the right way. If you want some more best bets and picks and plays, click the link in the description. Join the Discord group. Can't wait to continue to make money with y'all. All right, my friends, let's get to that money, dictate your fate, and I will see y'all in tomorrow. Later, gang.